This video is for assembling a 3D print kit of Grace's SNS M232 from Resident Evil Requiem. Here I have an assembled raw print, which means that no sanding or painting was done. At minimum, I recommend sanding your print before assembly, paying attention to these curved areas underneath the barrel and in the trigger guard. The first piece that we're going to assemble is the small U-shaped piece. It is flat on one side and has a bump on the other side. There is a notch on the inside of the grip right here, and we will use super glue to glue the flat side of the piece into the grip. When glued together, we want this piece to be flush with the inside of the grip. Next, we will glue the magazine, starting with inserting 2 pegs at the top. These pegs will connect the magazine to the piece that goes above it. While we're letting the magazine set, we're going to connect the trigger guard to this piece using more pegs. I will note the holes in this piece are rather deep, so if you insert a peg into this side, it will disappear almost entirely into the piece. Therefore, I recommend gluing the pegs to the trigger guard first, and then fitting the pieces together. Coat the magazine on its sides as well as on the top, including the pegs, before sliding it into the grip and holding it together for a moment while it sets. We can then slide the trigger guard piece onto the magazine, pressing the pieces together to ensure a tight fit. Next, I want to talk about the trigger. It has this hinge piece on the end that is meant to act as a spring, as well as a central peg on which it rotates, so that you can press and articulate the trigger piece. On the trigger guard, you can see notches on the bottom side for the pin to slot into. This means that the pin needs to be pushed up into the notches from the bottom. As such, we need to load the trigger piece in first, insert the pin, and then push the assembled trigger back up into the notch. If you want an articulating trigger, push the piece until the hinge rests on top of the trigger guard, like so. Make sure not to cover this with glue when connecting the slide to the rest of the gun. Here, I chose to glue my trigger in place and connected the slide with pegs as normal. This hammer piece gets glued into the back of the gun like so. The screws get glued on both sides of the grip, and the slide release lever gets glued in this indent underneath the barrel. If you want a reference to see how all the pieces should fit, I recommend looking at a 6-hour P232, which Grace's gun was based off of. And that is the fully assembled cosplay prop. It also comes with this barrel blocker piece, which I recommend painting bright red or orange for conventions. To temporarily keep it in the barrel, you can wrap it with double-sided tape. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope this was helpful for assembling your 3D print kit.